Braum if you really want to. And it's just in general just a really good pick. Abel, he's not necessarily someone who's gone towards that kind of utility AD carry. He prefers other things, so that means maybe that's less of a priority. And that Renekton, which we said, not everyone gets the Renekton pass, but Wayward, when he's against struggling top laners, can really dunk on them. This could be a win condition. That's
the thing that we've seen is if you're confident against the matchup, that's where you're blind picking the Renekton a lot of the times.
Yes.
It's actually proven to be pretty viable so far. A couple big options on the table. Do expect the AP variety here, and it's the Zyra.
So Zyra can, be that really good long-range disengaged champion, which you kind of struggle to engage into at some points. Denshin, on the other side, weighing up his own options. He's only played the Zyra and the Brand, so he will have to play something new on the LPL stage. He goes towards that Sejuani. Renekton Sejuani, very, very powerful as a top jungle combo and allows you to really nail down onto these longer range carries. The plants don't block that giant ultimate spinning at you from the Sejuani. Segeja will need to be afraid into the mid game as soon as that ultimate is unlocked, with the big follow-up that W could potentially lock in afterwards.
I think they just have so many go buttons already on the side of WE, and I also find it interesting the lack of prio on the Karthus we've seen as a whole. Now, the Wombo combo is going to definitely be there for RNG now. They're getting themselves some really big pieces. They have to shore up the engage and the stability of the comp now, though.
So there is a really interesting conversation to be had about that Karthus. I think the problem is that he ends up being outranged by the Zyra. He can't kill tanks as fast as the Brand, and he doesn't end up building the double HP items that a lot of AP junglers do end up doing. So he's a lot less survivable even just through that. He's still good, and I think that a lot of players haven't really unlocked the upper level of the Karthus in the way that a few players have done worldwide. So I think that's one of the reasons that's fallen off. Someone like the Zyra, very easy to play. As soon as you get that clear speed down, all you have to do, look, it's the reason I play it in Arena. You don't have to hit skill shots. The plans do it for you in auto targets. You don't need to hit stuff most of the time. You just stand back, put a couple of those leafy friends down, and they do the work for you. It's just ease of access in that regards. I feel like that is something which is really important to teams which have been struggling, and teams in our Nirvana group do kind of count towards that, right? Sometimes playing stuff which is just easier to pilot can be really, really important.
Yeah.
Stuff like that Tristana in the which has been so practiced now, I think starts to classify as that. Stuff like the Zyra's in that level too. The Sejuani engage also helps with that. We've seen similar things from Maokai in the past, right? You just press that ultimate button and go forwards.
Catching up on the draft a little bit, we got the big engage tools, but also teamfight tools by WE focus on the Kennen and the Nautilus ban. It was the ADC focus for the Kai'Sa and the Zeri. Immediately, Lovers Duo locked in by WE after the Cassante for RNG.
I don't know if I like that, because now you are a Zyra that is outranged. The Tristana can outrange you, the Misfortune ultimate certainly outranges you, and you're still into that Zyra. You've got a last pick support coming in from Iwandi, so he can do whatever the heck he wants with that one. You could go, I mean, that Bard which was being hovered over wouldn't even be an awful idea. They do go towards the Alistar for more engage. It's fine in that regards, but the problem is Zyra is a champion which hates being outranged. Now you're into a lot of different extra damage which can do that. That could be a bit of a problem. WE, they're going to have to rely on really good engage from Mark and Yangxian going forwards onto one of these squishies if it's all possible. It's hard for them to engage onto the Alistar with ultimate and the Cassante. You can press W, and even with that, it's going to be quite hard for Abel to run alongside behind them. We see less ghosts on AD carries now, which means that the Zyra can struggle to follow those longer range engages. WE, they have a great composition if they get engaged into. I think if they're the ones going forwards, it can start to be a bit of a struggle, particularly with the Zyra struggling to catch up with the rest of the team.
It's going to be a lot about positioning as well, and just trying to find any in possible. The biggest thing is a lot of confidence by WE in this first one. The blind pick of the Renekton, and maybe leaning towards this top side a little bit more, but that is also where we go back to the conversation of rookie versus rookie in the jungle. Veterans abound everywhere else, but maybe primarily looking at that bot lane matchup as well and see how these two supports can try to affect the map and support these newer junglers.
So, newer junglers, veteran ADCs, it has been a search for chemistry, a search for something special, and a reaction which might just carry these teams out of the bottom echelons of the LPL and into at least that last chance qualifier to try and get themselves into the playoffs of the LPL. Both of these teams have been searching for something special. We are yet to really figure out if they have. We've only had a couple of series. It would be a little bit disingenuous to say they found it already, but we might be finding a next chapter in that search as we go into game 1.
A little bit of cheered on both sides. Love to hear Shiana awake and ready to go for this one. We get into the Group B reunion from placement stage, and it's already starting off spicy with WE finding a flank over there on the Geju. Now, I especially think with this series scoreline between these two teams being 1-1, this one means a little bit more than the normal stakes.
Yeah, absolutely. When you come through from, yes, that group reunion, which we were highlighting. WE doing something important there. They're trying to, what they did is they disrupted the seeds from the Zyra at level 1. Zyra's clear speed is about her plants and her plant damage. How do you get plants at level 1? You need that passive. Way back in the day, her passive used to be she died and she just spit a thorn at you, and that kind of be
That was
it.
so cool, by the way.
It was kind of cool, but you had to die to use it, which felt kind of bad. Nowadays, you can get the plants right the way from, well, nowadays. For a long time, you can now get those plants at level 1, but you have to stand in the right area of the map. If you're forced to retreat, if you're forced to spawn your plants early, you do lose out some clear speed. Because of that, Geju might just end up having himself a bit of a weaker clear. You do want to get that W level 2. It makes it easier to clear these Krogs at that point. You need to be careful about those camps tagging onto your plants. You need to be the one tanking the aggro, so your plants can be the real carry of your jungle clear.
Been seeing very, very quick clears by the Zyra. We'll keep tabs on what the timing looks like this time around
254
as well.
Is the fastest I've seen in LPL so far.
It is going to be also opposite side pathings, so Yang Qiang, especially looking to get to these solo lanes and maybe even towards Wayward as well.
Yeah, and we can, yes, very much see the combo up from Tangyuan trying to get towards the big setup in those lanes. The thing about the Zyra is that you clear and you can be on call. You know, you're the person on the hotline ready to say, okay, I have cleared like a monster. I will be somewhere on the map. But you are not the one that goes aggressive most of the time. You can get yourself that grasping roots gank very early on with that first level of your E, but you don't necessarily wants to be putting yourself out of position to do so. Whereas the Yang Xian, if you can get towards the Renekton lane, if you can get towards that Rakan who gets to go forwards as well, you can start to cause a lot of issues, particularly since Rakan does count as a melee character. It does mean you do assist in that Sejuani passive, which can help at some points.
Now taking a look at it, it's a little bit belated from that super fast clear, but still not too shabby, just over that 3-minute mark now. He will be pathing down towards this bot side for Geju. Spotted out, though, by the ward as it's going down. So Team WE know that there is a play developing on bot side against them.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you disrupt a level 1 from Zyra, the clear goes from about 254 to about 310 to 315. That is, what, you know, an extra 20 seconds of time you get to survive in a lane. Now, if you're clearing top to bot lane, that means you get yourself hitting, you can get yourself more XP from minions. That means they hit that level 3, the dive threat isn't there. Now with top side, Yanshin might be able to make himself an impact where Geju couldn't on bot side.
We said this is where they needed to put the focus. The permafrost going to connect, but can't follow it up. And the turret shot back on a Wayward. A little dicey up there, and I'm not talking about the slice and dice.
Close stuff in that top side as, yeah, the Sejuani passive couldn't get procced. You have to actually proc the permafrost. The powered Q is going to make sure that Wayward doesn't end up getting blasted on the return end of that. Has flash to no flash. It's still something for that top lane, but neither jungler finding something in the sides of the map which they first go towards. Zyra tends to be happier with that, even if you don't end up getting yourself something in that first play of the game. As with all farming AP junglers, getting farm is a win condition of itself. Gets himself to that Fated Ashes, and now jungle camps don't really exist. They're just going to evaporate as Geju photosynthesizes his way through the jungle.
A big thing to realize here as well is with the pathing structure of these two junglers, where you could have a little bit of differing focus on the objectives that spawn first and foremost. Bot lane priority is going to be super important in that. We look at mid lane, and Tangyuan has a lot of priority on the Tristana, as we would expect, though, on the other side for RNG.
I'm kind of sad that we see the Tristana Corki matchup back, even though the Tristana is really powerful right now. I just like seeing the Lucian players at least try and do something mechanical in laning phase. You have to hop over the Foss Bomb, and it's quick skill shots because the Foss Bomb got his missile speed increased recently. But yeah, the Tristana, sure, it pushes in and it gets a load of prio. Sure, I guess that's valuable. Back to Tristana, Corki we go.
Yeah, I've been here for it. I actually like some of the plays. The Corki maybe not as flashy, but
you know what? I have to say, I think in the current iteration of it, I think I prefer Corki Azir than Corki Tristana.
oh my goodness.
I can't believe I'm saying that. Because you get to the point where AD carries do get, absorb life, fleet footwork. They never really lose HP either. They just continually push. Yes, the AD carries are kind of fun in late game. Look, it used to be a special thing when we saw double AD carry compositions. Last year, EDG would start playing towards, the AD carry mid, and then they'd have the AD carry bot as well. That wasn't as common. The fact that we see it every game right now, it just loses some of that viability. Like, I remember when double AD carry back in season 4, you would play the double AD carry just to get extra tower killing potential early into the game, because back then mages didn't get extra damage to the turrets. The fact that we see them every game right now, sometimes we even see 6 AD carries between jungles and top laners as well. Like, it's too much. It has lost its kind
ADCs
of
rule the
like,
world.
niche.
Yes. We do see the culmination of that pathing I was talking about earlier, though, with the opposite side structure, is Geju did end up taking that dragon. The grubby tubbies have been taken by Team WE. Now they do miss the Glacial Prison on the back of it, but Wayward has an entrance and Geju in some trouble now. He'll just go down. First blood for Team WE. And of course, it's the FoFo. Good boy.
Well, welcome to the LPL, Geju. Enjoy your stay. Out-leveled by Yangxian as he gets the level up from that last grub. Gets the bowler thrown at him, and that Glacial Prison forces the flash, forces the losing play, and even though the Zyras tend to kind of just steamroll through the game after they get past that first clear, RNG's jungler has fallen behind. Remember that this player, Geju, solo queue prodigy, trying to come in to stabilize a roster which has now just lost Wei, and of course Ming, of course, one of their MSI winners as well, leaving that roster to the point where now RNG no longer has any of their MSI rosters back on there. You can see level 6 hit from that last camp. Geju must have been just one camp offered himself. He doesn't have that ultimate to put down that Stranglethorns. Even if he had it, he was probably out of position and would have died. So, sad situation for him as he eats his first death of the series.
And this is picture perfect for Team WE because they wanted to play around their solo lanes in this one. You have a lot of safety for Team WE's bot side, and they can play easily on this side of the map as well if they keep pushing this in. So, getting any advantage on this these solo lanes is very big. Now, Tangyuan in trouble against FoFo, and he will have a little bit more presence back into that priority we were talking about in the mid lane.
Yeah, once you get to first couple of backs, the Corki starts to fire back pretty well against the Tristana. One of the reasons the Corki Tristana has been played so much, and even though you see the Tristana getting early push, you'd start questioning, well, why would anyone pick the Corki if the Tristana gets the push? Don't they win the matchup?
Oh, come on! Can't catch a break.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. Geju's just been absolutely dunked on in this game, but the reason that people still pick the Corki is that once you get past your first couple of bases, you can get to the point where the Corki genuinely does start to rock Tristana in the individual matchup. Especially once you hit 2 items, the Corki really, really starts to hurt and wins against Tristana, even when Tristana can be ahead of the game. So Tangyuan, he has his point of power right now. It hasn't led to anything. Normally a pushing mid lane gives your jungler an advantage as well. That hasn't been the case, and now Yangxian is ahead in XP, and ahead in gold, and ahead, of course, that assist as well against Geju, and that is a very good sign for WE. Their go button in that Sejuani is really, really online, and Mark also has his own go buttons to go to the play.
There's the go button going. Mark on his mark. The bullet time over top of it, but Geju is just dead outright. They didn't do any damage with it as well, and now Iwandi is also left hanging. FoFo going to claim a second one, and so far, it's all Team WE.
Oh dear, oh dear. You put down that bullet time to dry and buy a little bit of time for your other 2 teammates to get out, and it just doesn't matter. You lose the life of your jungler again, you lose the life of your support, you lose the ultimate from that Alistar too, and now RNG, not only are they behind the game where they should be, they also don't have the tools to fight back in the next phase of the game, which is going to be a bit of a problem. You're not going to have Geju's flash back up for that next dragon as well. This was on vision. They should know that Mark and Abel's standing there. If you see them stood like that, you should know they're looking for a play. This is really greedy. You don't have your mid laner roaming either. This is a huge lack of awareness from RNG and what could happen with the map, and they're getting hugely punished for it.
You can't say this hasn't been a trend, though, for RNG. A little bit of lack of direction in the early game can be felt. That's why you were wondering if a little bit of the veterancy brought to this bottom lane could shore some of that up. Geju not one to back down, though, into the night. We'll end up trying to look at this top side to reinvigorate Juice a little bit.
Juice on this Cassante versus Renekton will typically outvalue in teamfights. That's just what you get out of the Cassante. Cassante is a very prominent teamfight champion. The Renekton needs a significant lead to be more valuable in the late game. The first time that Yanxian tried to look towards that Renekton Sejuani, couldn't quite get value of it. We are still in very much the power point of the Renekton, though. No flash, but does have that dominance, and the level 9 for that max rank of that Q can be so powerful. So RNG trying to deny the grubs, but I don't think they necessarily want to stick around for a big fight if WE choose to walk up here.
Looks like they will just seed pressure around this one, literally, as the 3 grubs will be traded to the other side here. You did see a little... Yeah?
Did you just say seed pressure because this is Zyra?
Well, I seed and then seed, you know, pun intended. Come on, you don't.
Yeah.
That I'm glad you got there eventually.
Here you go. Thanks. Yeah. Look, buddy, we had 8 games yesterday. I'm up bright and early for these games today. You know, bright and early.
So
for
I need
LPL.
to keep the puns coming. Then is this what you're telling me?
Absolutely, it keeps me awake. It does at points.
From shock value.
Well, I have to say, typically the gameplay does as well. This game's been a little bit slow. We kind of have come to realize that from both these teams because. Like, they've been struggling in terms of direction. They have put in a load of new players. Wayward's going to pop his ult just to make sure he has safe wave clear. Maybe thinking that there was a gank coming onto him because there's a lot of fog of war on top side. 4 plates taken by W on the bot side, and Juice in danger.
So much gold going the way of Team WE's bottom side, and now they'll be able to also invade a little bit here. Geju did just complete his Leandries, so getting back on the map, they'll have a little bit of point of pressure in that regard, but it has been a tough affair now that you found advantages pretty much across the table for Team WE.
You're getting yourselves all of those plates on Abel, leading through to a first item Infinity Edge. I love to see that.
We've seen this a little.
We've seen this a little bit from Jinxes. I think we should be seeing this elsewhere too. Remember, Infinity Edge was buffed coming into summer. Wayward's going to get teleported on though, and that AD carry is strong. This can be a Buster Shot back into him.
He's got the Buster Shot. Oh, the slice of dice was denied. Wayward not going to have an exit here. Tangyuan makes the outplay here, and he's going to find a kill for it.
Wayward used the ultimate to wave clear, and the last play before this means he's not available for this kind of outplay, and the Renekton, who needs to be ahead, getting shut down is a bit of an issue.
Run, Huanfeng!
Huge plays are going to go over. Huanfeng Plaid's flash is at least going to get out alive.
Oh, a little bit of miscoordination there by Awandi and Huanfeng. The headbutt going out and the bullet time coming through a bit off time, but they do survive, so they get something back from it.
Tangyuan's going to be left alone in that top side, so he'll get himself that turret, but it won't be before first turret taken by Mark and Abel in this bot side. Mark going to share in that gold, but at least securing that first turret. Tangyuan not able to take this right now. Can they take this turret in time? No, so Wayward at least going to be able to survive for now.
Try to punish Wayward again now that he has no flash. He does have the Dominus back up and available. You see maybe the alarms have been triggered here on the top side because everybody from Team WE is heading up this way, realizing this turret is the focus for RNG. They'll be able to take this one, though, before they get up here.
Okay, so Tangyuan, he has been given all of the resources. Tristan is 10 team. You've got the Cull cashing in soon as well. So RNG, their hope now is, okay, get to 2-3 items onto the Zyra, get that Leandries and that Rylai's, and then Tangyuan going to get all of that side lane gold. Maybe they can deal with the tanks at the same kind of time. RNG, they are still behind. You still have given a boatload of gold over to that Zyra. Mark is, why are you there?
He is in a lot of trouble. Popping the quickness, though, and he's a speedy little guy.
That was, yeah. Okay. Mark gets out alive. Does have to blow his flash and his ultimate, but he does get out at the cost of an ultimate coming through from Geju as well. Herald going over to WE. This could be a bit of an issue for RNG. They are not at a point where they want to fight just yet. They don't have that bullet time, and they don't have the Stranglethorns now as well. If you get a good recall coming in from Yanxian, you can put that down into mid lane with the power point of the Zyra and that Infinity Edge very early on. You could see W trying to break open that mid lane turret.
Some of that standing gold there as well, going to be really big. They already find themselves at a pretty hefty advantage early on. They've taken so many plates. A little bit in return, though, by RNG. In the end, getting that top side with all the plates was pretty big for themselves. But we also are on first items across the table, so that's where we got to take stock on powers of fighting here as Geju comes topside to try to stop the advances of Team WE.
Yeah, so the fighting power, of course you have Kraken Slayer and you have the Cole cashed in for Tangyuan, so he's very happy with his gold value. Right now, you already talked about the Leandries being brought in before that. Bloodthirster for MF, very important. They're not there at this play. FoFo being gifted a side lane out of turret himself. He is almost at his second item point now with a lot of gold being given over. Once you get that Muramana coming in from the core keep, that's where WE really start getting an advantage there. The fact that we have this difference between the Bloodthirster and the Infinity Edge, though, is a big difference between these AD carries. Of course, with Xayah, the feathers do benefit a lot from crit chance and just raw AD. It's an ability which ends up scaling off of a load of different factors. Basically, because it was there to deny the lethality Xayah that we had a number of years ago. That was not an okay build, where you'd lose half your HP to, Cyrilda's Muramana Xayah, a couple of items. But basically going towards that Infinity Edge and now the Zeal, very efficient items now from Abel, a good mix between attack speed and just raw AD and crit.
We did also just get second item complete for Tangyuan, as he did get the Navori Flicker Blade on the Tristana, which is actually a pretty big spike there in the end. Mark, looking over here on the Gedju, he's been playing with fire here. As they are getting the collapse, he immediately pops the quickness.
Can we stop bullying the rookie, please? Can we stop doing this? Gedju has to flash away towards bot side. And now because Mark has been so bold with his entrances into the enemy jungle, bold is a word I'm going to use very politely there. It does mean that they spot out Gedju not being able to defend this mid lane turret. And they're going to even drive it away from mid lane as a rotational device. Look, I think Mark, there isn't much you can do with that. You can sometimes drive it towards the outer turret on bot lane, but that was already down. So there's not much else you can do with it. He was just going for a joyride.
A joyride, not off into the sunset this time around. There is dragon spawned up. Would be second dragon for either side. RNG trying to push in this mid lane, but Wayward on the way. There's the Glacier Prison gone. Iwandi goes in for the engage. Mark in a little bit of trouble. You have a lot of sustained damage from RNG. Is Tangyuan moving forward now as well. He's going to rocket jump over there. Try to catch Mark unawares, but the dragon looks like it's going to go the way of RNG.
So what Yanxian was trying to do was avoid the Alistar, because the Alistar can just prop ult in response to yours. Wanted to catch that flashless Sire, but then just swings wide, sadly. Tries to go for the high value play. Doesn't quite end up getting towards that. So now RNG, they're going to get themselves that second dragon. And this game at least has a few objectives in it for RNG, but it's still going to be a difficult point for them when they are still quite far behind in some of those big combat stats. They don't want to have a good fight for Abel thrown into him. If RNG do get themselves into a point where they're fighting against a Xayah who's genuinely auto-attacking them, they lose every fight at this point in the game.
I think Tangyuan's positioning is going to be very, very important as we move forward here and try to use the CC combos that RNG's combos have actually at their disposal between Iwandi and Gedju. But now we go back on the map with a redeploy from Team WE. Not hitting second items anywhere else just yet, but did get it on FoFo here.
Big teleport coming through. So this is okay. All right. Still no flash of Gedju. Has an ult. Needs to try and use it.
There's a wild dog on the back line there. Tangyuan gonna flash away. Tries to get the buzz shot there. Nice little double knockout by Wandi, fighting his way out. Abel in some trouble there. There's the flash coming through from Wayward though. He's looking to get Gedju. Nice little headbutt back there. FoFo flashing over the wall, and FoFo will claim that kill. Juice with the entrance here. He has the all out, but he's a little bit scared. And WE will back away, all bodies available, and Iwandi in the dirt.
That was a confusing fight, Mazel. We saw Abel 1v2ing at one point. We said, okay, well, if Abel manages to get a good fight, it's a really dangerous point for RNG. Still doesn't really want to be in a 1v2 without any teammates around him. The fact that, Gedju gets out alive is also surprising to me because he has no flash. He does have a good disengaged player here, though. Using the grasping roots, gets a good kind of area denial with the strangle thorns as well. And Iwandi does buy a lot of time with ult, so at least Gedju lives, and they stop the bullying, if only briefly. It was pretty close, though, that Zyra was in a lot of danger for a long time.
It's just so difficult to navigate the fights when Team W have so many entrances into them, right? Like, you have to watch for 3 forward advances from Wayward and Xiang and Mark, and they do find that forward advance onto Gedju. And this time they strike true. There's no getting away.
This jungler has been given a pretty cold welcome here by Team W. Only his second series or so. Yeah.
Do you lose a little bit of that sympathy?
Well, you know, it's his third series now. Maybe the time for welcomes is over. So he's dead. Baron's just spawned. You've got a tank to tank this one up for forever. Teleport coming in from Wayward. He has that Dominus. He's looking to flank on someone out of Fog of War.
Huanfeng needs a big bullet time, but look, Wayward, the big croc, he gets the cleanse out. Nymeara is made into hamburgers now. Team WE move right back to the Baron, and their lead is getting unsurmountable here, Nymeara.
And Gerju's going to be slow to this still. They have so much tank. W can stay on the Baron as long as they want. They might even fish for more kills, but the Baron will certainly go down.
He's got bullet time. He's going to go for it. Isn't going to get it. This might comes through in Yan Xiang. And they will also get the Scuttle Crab on top of that. So big Baron capes for Team WE. Mixing a little bit of red and purple.
Yeah, that's going to be 5 Baron buffs. And RNG were already struggling to make any plays and struggling to defend their own side of the map. RNG, ever since the very few early levels, they have struggled to get themselves any kind of platform here. Mark, really good flank on one side. Yangshin goes straight down the middle. Wayward crosses off the other side as well. It is a triple engaged threat. Really well played from WE. They have typically played through these very organized, heavy engaged compositions, even with their changing rosters. And you know, the conversation we were having about, look, half of the players in this game have changed from what they were even at the beginning of summer. Right, how similar are they going to be? WE playing around their heavy engage, organized team fights, that is something that we have continued to see. This has been their style of play with the tank junglers and a secondary engage source from Mark. It has been fairly similar to the way that they played out even beforehand.
And I just was talking about Tangyuan having a lot of say in this one, right, on the Tristana. But if you get caught like that with the flashes coming through immediately from Team WE onto you, that power vacuum will be very hard to fill for RNG. As they get sieged onto this tier 2 and bot side, Team WE have also gotten a little bit of pressure in mid lane by Wayward.
So, Wayward very far ahead of this matchup now. We did say that the Renekton needs to get a certain distance ahead of the Xiante to be useful, and given how W as a unit have gotten so far ahead, the Renekton has kind of paid off. It has stopped Juice from having much impact, and the flanking threats have been very powerful. WE, they're going to start getting even more gold now as they hit these inner turrets.
Abel playing so safely on the Xayah as well. There's the Glacial Prison used just to pull them off of the turret, and they'll get a tier 2 for it anyways. They move now back into the jungle as Dragon is spawning. Would be a soul point for RNG, but they do not have any say on how this map goes right now.
Yeah, and the fact that they just lost that Alistar ultimate is really, really important because if RNG are playing on the offensive, they kind of need that Alistar ult. You can't just go in for a combo, you need the combo plus your ult to stick around a little bit as that Alistar. So I don't think that Yangshin really cares about using his ultimate in trade in that sense. Tangyuan is going to find out Wayward, does have that 2.5 items, so it's still quite dangerous. Probably doesn't want to jump on top of a Renekton all the same. We'll just clear out that wave and try and get to the other side of the map from which W were just pressuring before this point.
And the go buttons are in the pockets of Team WE for sure, but we are getting to a point where RNG with one big combo can still find some big promise onto the right members if it comes through, right? I think FoFo having a lot of gold right now feels really good for Team WE, but without him, they lose a little bit of their damage profile. A third item for him, Rapid Fire, will make it a lot easier for him to navigate these fights, though.
We are getting towards that point where we're going to have Abel and FoFo just kind of flashing forward and showing the fact that they do have 1 million damage, and I'm not sure if RNG are quite ready for that. It's something which W will have to explore in a little bit. This is one of the bonuses that Abel brings. I think that, I think before this split, I was a bit of an LP defender. I liked when he was on LNG in spring of last year. And, I thought that Gala was an upgrade from LNG roster from LP last year. But LP was still fine. He was a good, stable carry. On W, he never really managed that.
Yeah.
Abel, I wouldn't have said stability was his core facet, but he does have that extra upper firepower. And considering how he's played so far for Team WE, he has also been, again, he has shown that stability, which somehow LP couldn't do on that roster, or Stay or Prince back in spring. So Abel, it feels like he has been slotting into this team mighty fine after his departure from OG, whilst also bringing that upper level of aggressive firepower when his flash is available.
Genius ADC trying to find any entrance here to find a big Featherstorm combo.
Wait, the Genius AD carriers were Uzi, Abel, and Jaculov, right? Were they the 3? Seem to remember that.
No, it was iBoy and Jackie Love. It was Abel.
Oh, iBoy, right?
Yeah,
Okay. See, I looked back a little while ago. I was like, is it? I thought it was meant to be Uzi in that list, but I'm just like a little bit.
It's the old guard, you know.
Yeah, because I remember Abel was part of that because he was of course the substitute behind Uzi on that RNG roster, which won MSI in 2018. So I remember he classified as that. I was just trying to remember exactly who the others on that list were.
And that's why I think the conversation of that veterancy that these teams have tried to bring in to stabilize is very interesting when you have the stark contrast of a lot of very new pieces, right? Like literally Geju has been a streamer for like 4 years and coming back over here now as well. It's been really, really interesting, even in some of maybe the low moments that we've seen in this split from both these teams, to see some of those developmental pieces alongside some true vets.
And that's been something which a lot of LPL teams have been we've had a load of roster changes trying to experiment with that. I'm not sure all of them have been really what teams needed, but you know, Team W, we've already highlighted, had 4 roster changes. RNG have had 3. You look at OMG, they've had, what, 2 or 3 as well, if you count Abel leaving also counting that, although Star is already on the roster. Pretty much, yeah, like over half the teams, I feel like about half the teams have made some kind of change midway through summer. Now, I can kind of understand it between like spring and summer. We've had those changes happening already mid-split in summer. I think you go a couple of weeks in and some of the teams start to maybe panic a little where their expectations aren't being met, whether that's playoffs or particularly contesting for world spots as well. I think a lot of organizations realize, we can't really mess around. Let's try and roll the dice if it's not working as it happens. Not all of them are successful, but that's the mentality I'm sort of grasping here in the LPL.
And this split stage setup also gives you some room for those transitions. Now, RNG, Wanda got to be really careful here. He is completely caught out, and even with the unbreakable will, still gets almost all of his health bar taken away from him. Nice little bullet time by Huanfeng, though.
Wow. That is the power of a level 13 plus Zai who's maxed out that E and maxed out that W as well. It is very, very painful when you have the Lord Dominus Regards. And now, once again, WE realized, okay, you don't have that Alistair ultimate now. Yes, you have the Warmogs, but that Alistair ultimate is what you really need to be a tank, and RNG can't really go aggressive.
They're trying to move in here. I do like that Team WE are not willing to just go for the 50-50 just in case. You did get a bounty in the side lane completed by Juice. The Baron is the focus now. TP coming in. Wayward not joining just yet, but now he's coming in. TP's in. There is Geju in the pit, but it's not going to be enough. You get the Baron secured by Abel, of all people. The genius has truly gotten the brain power in his regard. Now WE moving out as they already cleared house on Geju. FoFo moving out too, and the good boy is right back. Go ahead and give him some treats. Team WE have stomped this game number 1. Almost 10,000 gold in the lead.
Yeah, FoFo showing us some corgi gaming. They get themselves that Baron buff. And RNG, this has sadly been the tale of RNG in 2024. They have struggled to be proactive. They have struggled to have direction. And roster changes do not seem to have solved that issue. They are eating so much damage onto their towers as WE go forwards.
RNG fighting under this turret, trying to stop it, and they do end up getting the siege broken. Oh! Able to get it in the last second there. That cannon minion doing work with the Baron buff.
Tangyuan has his ultimate back up. They could have looked for a turnaround at that point. I was a little bit worried. All the same, WE, they can get themselves a dragon off the back of this. It's likely not going to be a game which reaches the proper soul. We're going to get probably a take of that on the next kind of reset. Going back towards this Baron fight, the Geju has flash, tries to go for a flash steal, but he puts himself out of position to do so. Very, very close, as it is the... actually, it's going to be the Feather Call, which comes back from Abel, which takes it. I didn't see whether the Smite had gone down from Yanxian to secure that as well. Typically, you do end up comboing them up, but the spectators can sometimes tell a bit of a lie in regards to whether that smite was on cooldown or not, because sometimes it shows like the overall smite of the second charge cooldown, which gets a bit weird.
Damn, Daniel, that's a lot of damage. FoFo putting in work now. Honestly, having a heck of a game to open this one up. 6-0 on the Corki. Very confident in the pick. And Tangyuan on the Tristana. I mean, that's typically such a massive one we've seen in the meta right now. They do end up getting scraps in the bot side there, but Team WE are striking where it hurts and taking an inhib and bot lane themselves.
Yeah, this is the thing. You can say, oh, but they just got an objective bounty and it's an inner tower. Isn't that great? Well, you're losing your base. not particularly great. I would consider that a strategic loss. You get yourself a small tactical victory. Great goal. The strategic sense really not working out.
Wandy gonna pop the Unbreakable Will there too, just to try to dissuade any more of the follow-up. Baron is still up. Oh, 35 seconds on that buff. Stranglethorn gonna go down. Iwandi is almost dead. You see the Gatling gun doing work right now for FoFo. They're onto the turret now as well. They still have minions. The first one's going to fall. RNG going to renew their efforts of defense here, Nymeara. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. Look at Abel. He's got that Blade Collar. The Feather Storm going to be used as well. He's getting all outed right now by Juice, but on the other side, the combo's not going to be enough. Huanfeng has been denied, and now Team WE move on as they have multiple cannon minions here. Do they want to stay? They have TP available for FoFo as he tries to initiate the back. It will end up being Mark going down. TP coming in for FoFo.
Right. Baron buff is off, so there's no more of those powerful minions. Huanfeng just used his flash. Can he position correctly? The tower's dying.
They're literally just trying to brute force this win, and it's gonna work, damn it! Team WE, we knew they were strong. We knew they were the favorites in this one, and they will handle game number 1 as they take a 1-0 advantage in this best of 3.
WE picking up a pretty textbook game 1. WE, they have been a team which have played textbook style League of Legends. Easy engaged, organized team fights and getting themselves good gold out of side lanes, particularly onto FoFo as well. That worked out an absolute treat for them. I think we're starting to see Abel slot more and more comfortably into this roster. We haven't seen him be exploited in the way that other WE ADCs have been in the past. Maybe that's one of the reasons that they picked him up. I wouldn't have said that was the strength of Abel before, but he's finding it here on this roster.
Well, Team WE take the advantage here. We'll see if RNG can find that bounce